That sample forced me to rethink some of my assumptions. Now I need intel from an eyewitness to one of her portal attacks.
Hello everybody, Gw2 here, and welcome back to my second video. In this video, I'm going to be explaining Guild Wars 2's basic world mechanics, as well as a few tips to make your experience better. After completing your initial instance, you'll finally be sent into the actual world of Tyria. Here, one of your first objectives will be to speak to a scout. This scout will explain a few simple concepts and basics of the basic map and game world. First, she will explain the situation of the map you are in for your race, and she will then mark a certain number of hearts on your map. Hearts are places where you can go to complete objectives and gain small amounts of money and experience for completing them. Something you have to remember though is that hearts do not equal quests. Yes, they are similar, but they are not quests. Got it? Okay. So while completing these hearts, you'll have a certain number of objectives you can complete, such as killing monsters, or rescuing people, or reviving people, or things such as that. After completing it, you will receive a small amount of experience and get a letter in the mail, where you will get some money. The second thing the scout will explain are waypoints. Waypoints are ways to get around the map of Tyria very fast for a small fee. You'll see them in the distance, and when you discover them, you'll get a small amount of experience and they will flash to let you know you have actually discovered it. Finally, the scout will explain places to earn skill points. Skill points can be earned by communing with places of power, defeating strong enemies, or doing target practice in one case. After earning these skill points, you may spend them on skills to use in your utility slots later in the game. Two things the scout will not explain are point of interests, which are simply places on the map that you can discover for a small amount of experience. And the other thing is vistas. Vistas are spread throughout the world and can be more or less difficult to reach because they involve jumping puzzles. These jumping puzzles will be harder as you go throughout the harder areas, and some can be extremely difficult, but once you have reached the end, you'll get a small amount of experience, and you'll get a nice panoramic view of the surrounding landscape. One of the most important things to remember while playing Guild Wars 2 is to participate in dynamic events. These are events that will spawn around Tyria and will have objectives such as escorting someone, defending an area, or killing a giant world boss. The more players that show up to participate in a dynamic event, the harder the dynamic event will get. But lucky for you, every player gets their own reward. There is no such thing as camping, or spawn killing, or spawn stealing, things such as that in Guild Wars 2. Everyone gets their own rewards. These dynamic events will either be on a timer or can be triggered by players, and they are the most efficient way to level in Guild Wars 2. It is always a good idea to stick around after completing a dynamic event, as they can be chained, such as escorting someone to a world boss and having the world boss appear, or having 3 dynamic events spawn around the map, and once all 3 are completed, a world boss could spawn, or perhaps even escorting someone so that you can open up a dungeon to do later in the game. Once you have completed the dynamic event, you will get a certain amount of gold, experience, and karma, depending on how much you participated. If you showed up at the last minute, you will get bronze, and you will not get as good of rewards as someone who was there for half the time and got silver, or someone who was there participating greatly and got gold. The majority of the time you will get gold, but there are times where you'll get bronze or silver. After completing, you'll get a little dialogue box between the people, the NPCs, involved within the dynamic event. They will thank you, have a nice little quote, and from there you may go on your little merry way and continue exploring and finding more dynamic events. One of the things you have to remember in Guild Wars 2 is that there is no holy trinity and crafting has been streamlined. Now I'll come back to crafting later, but what it means right now is that you are able to harvest anything you see out in the world. You do not need to be specialized to do it, as well as you can revive anybody you see without being specialized to do it. If you see someone downed in the field, such as another player on NPC, you simply need to walk over and hit F, and you will start to revive them. This is very important as it means that every player is responsible for their own healing and their own responsibility to survive, as there is no specified healer to heal them constantly. Another thing you need to remember is that Guild Wars 2 is very exploration focused. This means that every time you explore a new place, you'll get a small amount of experience. As you explore, you will inevitably get into fights. One of the basic things you need to know is that if you are killed during combat, what will actually happen is you will go into the down state. In this state, you have a chance to revive by either killing your enemy, using your number 4 skill, or swimming to the surface in underwater combat. While you are downed, you will have a certain number of skills. You'll have your number 1 skill, which does a basic attack, a number 2 skill, which is meant to interrupt foes or allow you to escape to a safer place, your number 3 skill, which can either be used for healing, attacking, or interrupting again, and your number 4 skill, which is used to revive yourself. Every class has the same number 4 skill, but 1 through 3 will always change. If you fail to revive yourself, you'll have to waypoint somewhere. This will mean going to the map and going somewhere, and you'll have to spend a small fee, such as 12 copper or 2 silver, depending on how far you wish to go, to revive yourself. Once you have waypointed after dying, you will have a little tiny thing on the bottom right of your health pool. This will signify that a part of your armor has been damaged. And finally, the last thing you need to remember about combat is that you are able to dodge. Dodging is very important and is one of the biggest parts of survival in this game, especially if you're going for Berserker and you are trying to do as much damage as possible with very little health. Dodging will be a lifesaver for you. As you pick up loot, you will inevitably start filling up your inventory. A basic thing you need to learn about your inventory is that you're able to deposit collectibles, you're able to compact everything, you're able to show bags or hide them depending on what you want, and you're also able to show the rarity of all the items. And now it's time to explore the options menu. Your very first thing will be the basics such as camera and language and things such as that. Quick little tip is I recommend putting on AoE loot and auto loot. This will make it so you can loot a lot faster and easier. The next tab down will be graphics. This is where you can adjust certain things such as selecting the best performance, the best looking, or auto detect. I recommend auto detect as it is best for your computer and it will simply know exactly what graphics will be best so that it will look okay and so that it will run perfectly well. As well as there is a gamma slider, and there's a neat little trick. There are some jumping puzzles where it's a dark room. If you turn your gamma up, it makes it a lot easier because you can actually slightly see. So just a quick little tip there. The next tab down will be sound. This is what controls your master volume, your sound effects, your music, and all those sorts of things. You can adjust them as you want. I usually have certain things off, such as music, or sometimes I'll even just turn all the sound off if I'm listening to a YouTube video, but it's nice to have that up there. And finally, we have key bindings. These are incredibly important as the original key bindings can work. I learned to work with them, but if you have a specific way you want to set them up, such as if you want to target with X, or if you want to use certain class-specific skills with Q or C, or perhaps you just want to bind all the keys to your mouse, then this is where you will do that. And it's very important you do that so it doesn't feel like you're just slapping your keyboard as you play, as you can feel a little bit clumsy at the beginning. Next up is your Friends tab, your contacts, and looking for group. This is where you'll be able to view your friends list. You'll be able to use the looking for group tool. Looking for group tool allows you to find players for dungeons, personal story, living world, player versus player, and the like. Followers, which is people who are friends with you, but you are not friends with them. and your blocked list. Next up is your Hero tab. You can access this by hitting H. This is where you'll be able to view your armor. Then you will also be able to view your stats, your weapons, your back pieces and rings, your gathering tools, and anything such as that. Your gathering tools are very important, as the higher rank your gathering tools are, the more materials you will be able to gather in the higher ranked areas. You are also able to view how charming you are, dignified you are, and ferocious you are, and you are able to view your class there as well if for some reason you forgot. You are also able to change your armor die here by hitting the die button in the top just above your headgear. This is where you can change your die, and you'll have all the unlocked dies for that character on the left hand side. Simply click on the die you want and click on the part of the armor you want to change, and it will change it. And you can style yourself up if you don't like your current style. You're also able to hide specific armor pieces. These include shoulders, arm pieces, and helmet. This allows you to hide certain pieces that you do not like, as well as you have town clothes. You can change your town clothes colors, and you can also add pieces such as boxing gloves, so you can do costume brawls later on in the game. You are also able to view your stats on the right hand side. This includes power, precision, toughness, vitality, condition damage, boon duration, critical damage, agony resistance, which is used for fractals of the mist, as well as a few other things such as healing power, condition duration, and magic find, which allows you to find rarer loot. The next tab on your Hero tab is where you can view your weapon skills. You'll be able to view every single weapon you are able to wield, and you're able to do a quick little read over of what those skills will do. And as you level up, you'll be able to unlock these skills as you use that specific weapon. You're also able to view your skills. You're able to unlock these by using skill points. You need to buy a certain amount of skills for each tier before you can unlock the next tier. Usually this is 5. But with the elite skills it is 2 to unlock the final 2 elite skills. And to actually equip these, you need to unlock utility slots. You unlock these at level 10, 20, and 30. Next is your traits. In your traits you are spending trait points, which you will earn from leveling up, and you will spend them to upgrade specific traits. In my case, I use them to upgrade critical chance and toughness. And from it I got trait number 5, which allows me to remove conditions every 10 seconds. The next tab is your wallet. This is where you will be able to view all the currency in the game. There are gems, gold, karma, laurels, glory, as well as a ton of dungeon tokens, fractal tokens, guild commendations, and badges of honor from World vs. World. You are also able to view your personal story. You're able to view your original choices, as well as every single chapter you have completed in your personal story so far. At the very bottom of this list will be your current personal story. And your current personal story, you'll be able to read what your objective is, and so you can know where exactly you're supposed to go and where you left off in the story if you logged out the previous day. The next tab is crafting. On this particular character I am not able to craft yet. I haven't chosen a crafting profession, but we'll get to that later. The next tab down is achievements. In achievements you'll be able to view your dailies and monthlies. This is something you should always do. Do your dailies and do your monthlies. They give you gold, karma, tons of rewards, and laurels. They are very good to do. Do them. Next down is your living world achievements. The living world is something that Gw2 has specifically instead of expansion packs. So every single time there's a living world update, you will have new achievements to complete as well as new rewards. Next down is your general achievements. You'll complete these as you go throughout the game, such as Slayer, where you can slay a certain amount of centaurs. You can do the Agent of Entropy, where you can see exactly how many things you've recycled, etc., etc. Each achievement can have a certain amount of tiers you need to complete. You're able to view the tiers and exactly what you need to do simply by mousing over tiers. You're also able to view exactly how much you've explored with the exploration achievements, as well as some stuff that is for those of you who are filthy rich in the game. There is also some other things, such as Hall of Monuments, which you can only get if you played Guild Wars 1. There's some things such as drinking a certain amount of drinks. And last on the general tab, there is jumping puzzles. Jumping puzzles are spread throughout Tyria, and they're very difficult to complete most of the time, but they each give you 10 achievement points, and they are very fun if you're into that kind of stuff like I am. Next down, you have the Bosses tab. You have Gw2, which is the champion dragon of Zaitan, I believe. You have a whole separate thing with him. You have just some general bosses where you need to complete those. And below that, you have the newest boss, which is Triple Trouble, the three-headed worm. And dear God, if you beat that thing, I'm proud of you. It is so hard to beat. But if you do beat it, you get a title. Next down is PvP. From here you can view exactly what you've done in PvP, and you can get specific titles for it, as well as a ton of achievements if you're willing to put the time in. Below that is World vs. World, where you're able to view your World vs. World exploits. You can get titles for almost every single achievement in World vs. World, but they're also incredibly hard to complete. Below that is Dungeons. You have all the 8 dungeons and their 3 paths, as well as some Fractals of the Mists, which is right below that. Fractals of the Mists are very difficult, to say the least, especially once you get at the higher levels. And then there's the Twilight Arbor path, which is a very specific path, which I have not actually done at all, so I can't tell you much about it. Below that, you have some activities, which are like mini-games throughout it. There is keg brawling and crab throwing and things such as that. My personal favorite one is South Sun Survival. You get to run around and you get to set traps, and if you die you become a ghost and you haunt the other players, and I find that one very fun. And below that you have History. This is where you can view all the achievements you got for every living story patch out so far that you have been a part of. So you can view things such as World vs. World Season 1, or Flame and Frost, the very first Living World update. And you can see exactly how many achievements you got, what titles you got for it, what loot you got from it. If you completed all of it, you'll see a completion bar at the very top, and it's just kind of fun to look at it. As you complete achievements, you will unlock chests at the top. These will give you laurels, gold, and a specific bonus to your account, as well as a chance to get a certain skin. One of the best chests you can get is massive achievement chests. They come at the amounts of 10,000, 5,000, 15,000, etc. As well as you can get titles for completing these things, which will show up below your name to other players. Below that tab we have the final tab, which is Finishers, which is mainly for PvP. It can happen with certain enemies where you can finish them off, but you'll gain finishers as you level up in PvP, or you can buy specific ones in the gem store. The next tab over is your inventory. Once again, you have a couple things you can do with this. One of the ones is you can access your wallet directly by clicking on your money stash. You can deposit all collectibles. You can compact, which would mean that if you had a ton of stuff spread out, you can just hit compact and all goes together. You can show and hide bags, as well as the rarity. And the way you increase your inventory capacity is by the bags on the left, and you can buy more slots with gems from the gem store. The next one over is mail. This is where you'll receive gold for completing hearts. After you've played for a year, you'll get a birthday gift. This is also where you'll get a personal story and living story updates, as they'll mail you stuff. Although they're kind of changing that with living story, but that's a good place to find stuff. Next up is the Black Lion Trading Company. This is also where the gem store is. This is where you spend real world money, and we need to get this out of the way right now. This is not pay to play. Yes, you can pay for things, but what it is skins, or consumables, or mini pets, and things such as that. The other thing you can buy with gems is you can exchange gold for gems, and you can also exchange gems for gold. So this allows you to, if you have a ton of gold, you can exchange them for gems to buy skins from the store, or if you have a ton of gems and you need some more gold for a legendary, then you can exchange your gems for gold for your legendary. Below that is the tab where you can view all the things that are for sale on the trading post. The initial screen will show you the top demanded items, the top traded, the top supplied, and the top valued. If you want to find a specific item, you can just type in whatever you want in the search thing, as well as you can view a little filters, which we'll get to in a second. The things that will be on the top will be the level requirement for it, how much it costs, what its rarity is, and how many of them there are. Now this is the filter. This is where you can select exactly what you're searching for. So if you're searching for a consumable and you type in pizza, there might be a weapon called pizza, and you have to narrow it down to consumable, food, etc., etc. And you can find stuff like that. So in this case, I found a legendary rifle. And with any weapon or armor in the game, you can preview it by right-clicking on it and hitting preview. You won't be able to actually own it or use any of it, but you will be able to preview it even on character who cannot use that specific weapon. Below that is the selling tab. This is if you have stuff in your inventory that you don't want and you don't want to vendor it, you can sell it here. Below that is the stuff you have put up for sale on the trading post that hasn't sold yet. It will tell you how many you put up there, what your price was, and how long ago. And below that is the stuff that you have to pick up. So in this case, I have 4 gold and a couple silver. And anything that you bought from the trading post will also show up there. Below that is your guild menu. This is where you can view the current guilds you are a part of. And yes, you can be part of more than one. If you were invited to one, you'll have it in the bottom left. From here, you can either choose to deny or accept. You can be in guilds cross-server as well. So I am in 3 guilds currently. One of them is on my server, one of them is for PvP, and the other one is just one that I can just be kind of a part of for fun. When you're viewing your guild tab, you'll have a certain rank, depending on whether or not you created it or what your leader thinks of you. You can view this by going to either just mousing over it or going to this tab, where you can view if they're online and representing that guild, what class they are, what level they are, what crafting they're doing, and what level they are in that crafting, as well as how many achievement points they've got. The next tab down, you'll be able to view upgrades, and the upgrades, certain ranks in your guild, depending on what you set them as, will be able to do different things with the upgrades. Certain ones will be able to just start them building, other ones will just be able to activate them, stuff like that. Below that is the log of all the things that everyone in the guild has done, as well as a message of the day and a couple other things. And below that is where you get to view the ranks and what they are allowed. So there's certain ranks that are only allowed to do specific things. So in this case, I am a member, so I'm allowed to do only a certain amount of things, while as you go up from officer to captain to co-leader and leader, they're able to do more and more and more. And finally below that is the guild things that you can do, such as guild bounties, guild trackers, guild races, and they are fun, but they're so hard sometimes. Next up is your World vs. World tab. This is where you'll see general information on World vs. World. You'll be able to view whatever your server is. If you mouse over it, it'll tell you what your server is. The little stars represent, I think it's like blood something in World vs. World. I don't know, I don't do much World vs. World. You'll also be able to add points for stuff that you got from your rank, as well as view the specific situation in the Eternal Battlegrounds and each of the Borderlands. At the very top, you'll be able to enter World vs. World. You simply click on where you want to go, and you will go there. The Obsidian Sanctum is a specific World vs. World jumping puzzle, and it is separate from everything else, and it is very difficult, and it is PvP enabled in there. Your next tab is your PvP tab. This is where you can view how many games you've played on every single class, how many games you've played in total, your general overview. You can join a certain arena and view what maps there are for that one. You can do hot joins directly from here without actually going to the Heart of the Mists. And you can view your custom arenas if you have any. But I'll get into PvP and World versus World later. But for now, that's just your general tabs. And finally, you have a hints tab. This is where you can view all the hints that you have ever gotten. If for some reason you need to look up a hint, I don't know why you would, but if you need to look up a hint, here's your tab. It's all pretty like, and just sits there in the way and things. Next up is the minimap. From here you can view places where you can mine or chop down things. You can view world events that are within the area. You can view your personal story. You can see hearts that are around you, skill points, waypoints, etc. You can zoom in and out if you want to be really close up. You can pan directly to wherever you need to go in the story. You can pan to your character, and you can view your world map, which will show every single map in the entire game. So that just happened. Anyway, next up is your chat box. This is where you'll be able to chat with your guild, the map, people on your team, your party, your squad. You'll be able to see emotes and game messages, and you're able to create your own custom ones, and you can have like 5,000 of them if you want. And it is actually kind of nice, because I have one for guild, I have one for PvP, I have one for combat log kind of stuff. I have one for my party, which is basically squad and my own personal party if I'm doing a world boss or world event. And if you want to create a new one, you simply click the little plus sign, you click what you want, and you name it. And yeah, I named this one Forever Alone because I didn't check anything off. I'm just forever alone now. Yeah. You can also adjust what size everything is and where you place it. So if you want your party down below in the bottom left and your chat box in the bottom or in the top left, you can do that. I believe you can also move your mini-map around. I'm not quite sure how, though. I never figured it out. But you can adjust the size of your mini-map, so if you are a minimalist UI, you can shrink it, or if you're like me and you like knowing where you are, you do that. You can adjust your party, you can invite people, join people, and you view your party in the top left. You have your personal story in the top right. Once you've completed your personal story, that will go away, but it's there. You also have the living story. If you click on the living story, it'll show you exactly where you need to go to participate in whatever it is you clicked on. It will zoom out to the map and circle exactly where you need to go. Right below that is your any hearts that are in the area. If there are no hearts, that won't be there, but it'll tell you what general level you should be and how much you've completed it. And below that is your dailies. If you've completed your dailies, it'll show your monthlies. If you've completed your monthlies, it won't show anything. So it shouldn't show anything, right? Right? Good. The next part we should do is explain what a vendor is. A vendor is where you can buy basic materials, such as salvaging kits, things like that. You can sell them stuff, you can buy specific items, and this includes hearts after you've completed them, just so you know. You also have a bank space. You can buy more bank space, but within your bank you are able to put anything you want. And you also have a collectibles tab. Every time you hit that deposit collectibles, this is where it goes. You'll have everything from food to gems to ascended items to mini pets. And before you ask, a mini pet is something that you can activate. It'll take up one inventory spot. It doesn't do much. And it'll just follow you around. It's whatever it is you choose, it'll just follow you around. And they're very rare, and you can buy them and you can collect them. And there are some very rare ones out there that are worth like 700 gold, which is a lot in Guild Wars 2. So if you find a really rare one, feel proud, and yeah, they're really cool actually sometimes. There's also the guild bank and guild vendors. You have a basic kind of armor vendor. You can also sell stuff to them and buy back stuff. They're the same as all the other vendors. But you also have a guild bank. This will grow, and the more people you have in a guild, you'll be able to grow this more. You can expand it with gold and influence. And there are certain tabs where you can make it so only officers are able to pull it out or something like that. But you can also have a tab where anyone can pull it out. So for instance, I couldn't pull out the ballista blueprint, but I could pull out the blueberry pie or whatever it is I took there. And I can put it back in there as well. You can also view the log for who took out what and put stuff in, and it'll show you exactly who did it and at what time and how long ago. So you can just scroll all the way through that if you are a guild leader and you want to see who stole your exotic out of all your officers or something like that. There's also a special place in Lion's Arch where you can specifically buy stuff with guild commendations and gold. There is, again, the armorer who is also by the guild bank. There's this guy here who you can buy weapons from, and something that they haven't announced yet. It says, for the future. And there's this guy who sells ascended weapons, he sells letters of commendation, he sells blueprints, he sells flags, he sells a ton of stuff, and it's for a certain amount of guild commendations and for a very small amount of silver all the way up to around 30 gold, 5 gold, stuff like that. And get very spendy, and again you can sell stuff and buy back stuff from any of these vendors. There's also the Mystic Forge. The Mystic Forge is what you use to make things like legendary weapons and legendary weapon components, as well as upgrading World vs. World blueprints. But it is random dice roll kind of stuff. It is very risky to do some of these things, so you have, there's a reason I call it the Mystic Toilet. Then there's also specific vendors spread throughout the world that sell just a specific food or something specific, or they'll sell stuff for karma instead, like heart vendors do. As well as there are some NPCs throughout the world that if you talk to them, you can go to a mini game, or they will tell you about a place around. And then there are these people, the Black Gliding Train Company. They will, you have to speak to one of these to pick up anything you buy. You can buy stuff from anywhere in the world, but you will not have it until you have picked it up from one of these people in one of the cities. One of the things you should always keep track of is your armor. You'll have to go and visit with someone and get your armor repaired almost constantly, and it'll get rid of that little icon below. But if your armor breaks, you will literally be naked if all of your armor breaks, and you will lose any stats that armor gave you. And so you should always, if you see it getting close to breaking point, repair your armor. And if it's damaged, it does lower some of the stats, I believe. So if you're in a dungeon and you've died a lot, make sure you have some cash on you to repair your armor. Don't be an idiot and just walk around naked. There's a couple other vendors you should be aware of. There's the Laurel vendor. This guy will sell you specific things such as crafting bags or potions. The more rare they are, the more they're worth. They'll be worth a ton. You can also buy ascended gear from these guys, as well as blueprints and some gear like starter sets as well. The other type of vendor is the dungeon vendors. Every time you complete dungeons and their different paths, you'll get certain commendations. With these, you can go and buy exotic armor. Each dungeon has its own stat sets for you, and it has their own specific looks. For instance, here is the Sorrow's Embrace one, I believe. My Thief has the Citadel of Flame ones, and they're just very cool looking, and they're very nice to have. I recommend getting them as soon as you can. And finally, there's also the Asura gates, which are large modes of transportation. They're ways you can teleport all the way across the world, or into the mists, or into world versus world without even having to spend a dime. You don't need to go to waypoints for these. You can just go to Lion's Arch, and you can either go to the race-specific ones, or to this one in this plaza, which will show you world versus world and PvP gates. As well as in cities, there are these special people who will give you a specific boost, a speed boost, so you can get around the city faster. I'm sorry, I had to do it again. Anyway, now to do crafting. There are many crafting professions such as armor smithing and chef and weaponsmithing and huntsman and all that stuff. And each one you are able to level up one of two ways. There's a couple other ways you can do it, but these are the big ones. You can discover items and you can craft items. Discovering gives you a lot more than crafting them. So I recommend if you're going to do something, discover a bunch of items. You don't want to, if you're going to level up, don't try to craft a ton of stuff, just try to discover a bunch of stuff and craft them later. And as well, you have a certain level cap with crafting. With every single crafting profession, you can get up to 500, except for jewelry and chef, as of when I'm making this video. What you do from 0 to 400 is kind of exotic gear, rare gear, normal stuff like that. But once you get to 400 to 500, that's when you're trying to do it for ascended gear, which is similar to legendary gear, but not as cool looking, basically. So the way you want to craft is all those materials you've been collecting throughout the game. You simply need to go to the crafting station for the one you choose. In this case, my thief, I chose weaponsmithing and jewelry smithing. And you just go to the place where you want to craft stuff and choose exactly what it is you want to craft. And click on it, and you hit craft. And the nice thing about Guild Wars 2's crafting system is that instead of it being incredibly slow or monotonous, every single thing you craft, the next one will craft at 2 times that pace until eventually maxes out, so you can craft like 500 things in what feels like 2 minutes. It goes by so fast. It's very nice. In your first login screen, you can also see a general overview of all your characters, whether or not you've completed your daily and monthly yet, the achievement points you need until the next chest, any living world things you've done, as well as you can view things such as world completion, some special things due to the living story, such as joining the Order of Whispers, or the Priory, or the Vigil. It will show you your PvP rank in the bottom left. In the middle, it will do world versus world rankings and things like that. And on the bottom right is the legendary weapons. And as soon as you equip one, you will get that specific achievement. So that's the basics for Guild Wars 2. The next videos I'm going to be making are just going to be specific to each profession. So I'm going to have a little thing pop up at the end. Just choose whatever your profession was. I'll go into more depth with it. And I will see you next time. Bye.